Welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast, the show that empowers gay men to live their fullest, healthiest lives. Whether you're navigating relationships, mental health, intimacy, finances, career, or personal growth, Ken Howard, a licensed clinical social worker in California, certified psychiatric social worker, and ASEC certified sex therapist, is here to guide you with over 30 years of experience, specializing in gay male individuals, couples, and polycules. As the founder of GayTherapyLA.com and GayCoachingLA.com. And now, today's episode.
Hi, I'm Ken Howard, and welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast. Today, I want to talk about gay men and post-nut clarity, what it really means. We've all heard the phrase post-nut clarity, that shift in perception that some men describe right after orgasm, where what felt intensely appealing just moments before suddenly seems different, even irrelevant. It's been a popular meme on social media, and that phrase gets kind of tossed about very casually, kind of a slang, but it actually points to some very real psychological and physiological processes that gay men in particular can recognize in their sexual and relational lives. What is post-nut clarity? Post-nut clarity describes the phenomenon of altered judgment or perspective immediately following ejaculation. During arousal and orgasm, the brain is flooded with neurochemicals like dopamine and oxytocin and some others, and desire narrows our focus. Everything seems more exciting and urgent. And then after orgasm, those neurochemical levels drop, and a more sober, balanced appraisal of the situation emerges. For gay men, this can show up in many ways. That Grindr hookup who seemed irresistible suddenly feels like a stranger. Porn that felt necessary to watch for arousal seems silly afterward. A risky or impulsive sexual decision suddenly feels questionable or regretful. Why it matters for gay men. Gay men often navigate a complex landscape of sex, intimacy, and identity. Post-nut clarity can be an ally or a challenge depending on how we interpret it. Impulse versus intention. Many of us have experience acting on sexual impulse that didn't line up with our broader values and goals. It's like the old phrase about beer goggles. Post-nut clarity reminds us of the difference between short-term dopamine spikes and long-term needs like love and companionship or intimacy or safety. Risk awareness. Some men only realize after orgasm that they compromised on safer sex practices or met with someone who didn't align with their comfort zones. And that sudden awareness can stir up guilt or shame, but it can also be a valuable signal to just reflect and adjust. Relationship dynamics. In ongoing relationships, post-nut clarity can shift how we perceive our partners or our hookups. The lust-driven lens we look through may fade, allowing room for tenderness and conversation or a reevaluation of what we really want. Managing this experience. Post-nut clarity isn't inherently good or bad. It's just biology meeting psychology. The key is learning how to work with it. 1, anticipate it. If you know you tend to feel regret or emptiness after casual sexual encounters, consider that before you meet someone. Ask yourself, will I feel good about this tomorrow? Number 2, use it as data. Post-nut clarity can help us learn our true boundaries and desires. If certain choices consistently leave you feeling flat, your body and your mind are telling you something important. Number 3, balance pleasure and meaning. Gay men should never feel shamed for enjoying sex. But notice when your sexual patterns are out of alignment with your values. Pleasure and personal integrity can coexist. Number 4, talk about it. If you're in a relationship, bring up how post-orgasm feelings affect you and your partner. For some couples, it's a chance to deepen intimacy by understanding each other's rhythms and needs, kind of that intimacy that you get with pillow talk or afterglow. A broader framework is the 6 principles of sexual health. So when we talk about post-nut clarity, it can be helpful to kind of zoom out and consider the 6 principles of sexual health that were developed by gay-affirming sex therapist Michael Vigorito and Doug Braun-Harvey in their book, Treating Out of Control Sexual Behavior. These principles are consent, non-exploitation, honesty, shared values, protection from STIs or unwanted pregnancy, and pleasure. And they offer a framework for evaluating sexual behavior from a secular standpoint, from a global health standpoint, without falling into religious-based or social shame or some kind of moral panic. For gay men, applying these principles means recognizing that post-nut clarity isn't a sign of sex addiction, but a reminder instead to check whether our sexual choices align with these health-based values, physical and mental health. Were we honest in that situation? Was there truly a mutual consent? Did the encounter reflect our true values? Did it bring us both pleasure? When post-nut clarity highlights gaps, that's an opportunity for growth, not condemnation. Post-nut clarity and therapy approaches. Different schools of therapy can help us understand this phenomenon in a couple of different ways. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT would frame post-nut clarity as the shift in automatic thoughts and beliefs before and after orgasm. For example, I need this hookup to feel good about myself might give way to, well, this isn't fulfilling. And CBT helps clients identify distorted thinking, anticipate these shifts, and reframe them in healthier, more self-empowering ways. By contrast, psychodynamic therapy. From a psychodynamic perspective, post-nut clarity could reflect unconscious conflicts, such as unresolved shame about our sexuality as gay men, internalized homophobia, or kind of a cynical or bitter approach about, the gay community overall and our experience with it, or ambivalence about intimacy, craving closeness and yet also running away from it. And the shift after orgasm may uncover deeper anxieties that need that therapeutic exploration. Both approaches, and still others, have value. CBT provides practical tools for behavioral change in our thinking and our behavior, while psychodynamic work can help uncover and resolve long-standing patterns that make post-nut clarity feel more distressing than it needs to be. And in a coaching perspective, then we might look at how your sexual patterns and behaviors can go from being out of alignment with the 6 principles of sexual health to lining up in a straight line right with the 6 principles of sexual health, and how you interpret those and what your personal value systems are. Sexual self-empowerment. So on my website, on gaytherapyla.com, I write about how the idea of sexual self-empowerment, learning to embrace sex not as something shameful or regrettable, but as a natural, healthy, and affirming part of life. Post-nut clarity, when understood correctly, can actually help support this. It helps us distinguish between sex that is truly empowering and aligned with our values and sex that feels depleting or out of step with who we really are and our goals. Let's talk about why some credentials matter in sex therapy. I write and talk about this stuff not only as a gay men's specialist psychotherapist, but also as a certified sex therapist through ASECT, the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. And this credential is not just a title that you send away for with your check. It represents a rigorous, ongoing commitment to professional excellence in sexual health and in sex therapy. Becoming an ASECT CST requires 18 months of specialized training beyond a graduate degree and licensure as a therapist, national seminars, both weekend intensives and extended modules on sexual health and relationships and anatomy and aspects of endocrinology or urology for both men and women, all genders, and therapy methods that are related to all that. It involves synchronous and asynchronous, fairly intense coursework with national experts in sex therapy. It's dozens of hours of supervised clinical experience with a more senior sex therapist working directly with clients on sexual health concerns. It involves letters of recommendation from senior CST supervisors attesting to both skill and ethical integrity in the field. Sex therapy has a lot of strong emphasis on what are the ethics, because sex is such a sensitive topic. And some people even confuse sex therapists with sexual surrogates or even sex workers, and it's not. Sex therapy is still a form of talk therapy. And even after certification, there's 20 hours or more of continuing education seminars each year that are required to maintain the credential and remain current on the latest research and interventions. In my case, that training is layered on top of 33 years of full-time practice focused specifically on gay men as individuals or couples or polycules, not just some gay clients within a more generalist practice that tries to be all things to all people. And that matters because gay men deserve specialized care from someone who has seen the unique challenges of our community evolve through the AIDS crisis and marriage equality and the advent of PrEP and aging through the lifespan and, more recently, today's political backlash. My credentials go even further. I'm also a certified psychiatric social worker trained to integrate mental health and medical perspectives, understanding not only psychology, but also psychiatry and health systems. I taught couples therapy and LGBT-focused clinical practice to graduate Master of Social Work students at USC, training the next generation of therapists. And I bring age and perspective. I've been in this field long enough to see patterns and cycles and long-term outcomes that younger clinicians simply haven't lived through yet. And all of this comes together in what I call sexual self-empowerment, helping gay men move away from shame and misinformation. Oh boy, we all know about the misinformation that's out there, right? Or confusion about sex, and toward an affirming and confident and healthy sexual identity. It's also worth naming something clients often wonder why CSTs may charge more for their sessions. The answer is that when you hire a certified sex therapist, you're investing in someone who has put years in of extra training and supervision and continuing education. You're not just paying for that session, but you're paying for decades of accumulated expertise, much like you would expect from a medical specialist who commands higher fees than a generalist. In other words, when you come to see me, you're not getting a generalist or a therapist dabbling in sexual issues. You're getting a gay men's specialist with the highest credentials in sexual health and decades of experience and the perspective to help move you forward confidently and in your authentic self. And it's important to underscore that experiencing regret or ambivalence or even discomfort after orgasm is not evidence of sex addiction. The sex addiction model has been widely criticized as sex negative and unsupported by science, and having a lot of roots in religious bigotry, especially around women, but also around gay men, and the shame around sex for minorities, women, and gay men. Post-nut clarity is a normal physiological and psychological process. It's not a pathology. The danger comes when men internalize shame and interpret normal experiences as proof of being broken. And therapy should help clients release that shame and move toward a healthier, more empowered sexual identity. True pride, gay pride. One danger of the whole meme about post-nut clarity is that it can reinforce shame, as if wanting sex was bad or stupid. But gay men already carry enough societal baggage around sex. Instead of framing post-nut clarity as embarrassment, it can be reframed as just a neutral part of the cycle, a moment of neurobiological recalibration. So therapy and coaching can help here to sort through whether your sexual choices align with your goals, to reduce cycles of shame and impulsivity or compulsivity, and to build confidence in balancing erotic exploration with self-respect and dignity, and maybe even boundaries. So if you recognize yourself in this description, feeling regret, confusion, or shame after sex, you're not alone in that. Exploring post-nut clarity doesn't mean avoiding sex, but it can mean finding healthier ways to integrate sexuality into your overall quality of life. And that's a lot of what coaching is about, is doing things that improve overall life satisfaction. And that can be very broad. So if you're a gay man in California looking for therapy, visit gaytherapyla.com. If you're outside of California in another American state or even outside the United States and you want coaching on sex and confidence or relationships, visit gaycoachingla.com. Or just call or text me directly at 310-339-5778, 310-339-5778 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.